It's time to meet this year's San Diego Gulls roster on this special edition of Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
Your Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Anaheim Ducks. This is a special edition episode. I'm your host, Jason JD Hernandez. I've been covering hockey for well over a decade. I've been covering the minor leagues for about as long, and also the public address announcer for the AHL's Coachella Valley Firebirds, and I've also contributed to Defend the Nest. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $20 off your first purchase. That is Gametime. So this is an episode that I do every season, along with an episode where we meet the Ducks roster. I do the same for the San Diego Gulls because it is not quite Gulls Thursday yet, but we got to meet the team. And I wasn't able to do this last week for a multitude of reasons, so I figured let's do it today. Even though there's been a couple of games played, the roster is still pretty much the same. This is going to be their roster for the majority of this season. We're going to start, as usual, with the forwards, then work our way through defenseman goaltending, and then finally I'll give my thoughts on the rosters in general. So let's begin with the forwards, and boy, am I excited about the forwards this season. I've said it a lot when I talked about the Ducks roster, so I'm going to say it again for the Gulls roster. Let the kids play. Let them play, folks, because this roster is chock full of youngsters. You know, all that young talent that the Ducks were going to have brought up. You know, those listings of the best prospects in the entire league? The Ducks have, in some circles, the top prospect pool in the entire league. For a lot of others, top 5. But I haven't seen any publications yet so far this season that has the Ducks below 5. So this is a top tier team in the American Hockey League, and they're all so young. Let me tell you how many players there are that are over the age of 25. Over the age of 25. Alex Stalock, Colton White, Robert Haig, Trevor Carrick, Glenn Godden, Andrew Agazzino. That's it. That's the list. 6 players. 6. That is it. Everyone else, in fact, is 23 or younger. So this is a team that could go somewhere because these are all the super talented kids. So starting with the forwards, we're just going to go from number, and it begins with Braden Tracy, who is 22 years old. Braden Tracy has played a couple seasons in San Diego already. He had kind of a down year last year, but so did pretty much everyone on the Gulls roster. Tracy was one of those guys that was seen as being a possible 13th, 14th guy for the Anaheim Ducks. And I believe Braden Tracy is still on his way to either being a depth piece for the Ducks or being a top player for the Gulls. Now, he did get one game in the NHL 2 seasons ago, just one game, didn't score anything. Last year, 28 points in 62 games, kind of a down year once again. But there is still that talent there. There is that speed. He's got a deft shot, but he's got speed and he's got still a lot of untapped potential. So that's Braden Tracy. Then Josh Lapina down the middle. Josh Lapina, also 22 years old. Lapina, I think, is a good IQ player, solid decision maker. I like his overall game, so this one's a good one. Then the sniper, the player that I like a lot personally, Jacob Perreault. I've been high on Perreault since he got drafted by the Ducks. I like him a lot. I like him because he's very creative with where he gets his shots off, how he gets his shots off. Very good off the puck. That's something that has improved on his game, his off-puck play. He also got a game with the Anaheim Ducks 2 seasons ago. Last season, a very down year, only 19 points, but he was also hurt a little bit. So that cost him a chunk of last season. Yeah, kind of sucky, but, that's what's going on there. And also, the Tracy Perreault combination, that line was just so fun and electric to watch. Remember the Michigan a couple seasons back in San Diego? Yeah, I remember that. Then the Regenda agenda. Pavel Regenda, who is turning 24. Oh my gosh, he's turning 24 in a couple of months. The steady winger who I still believe can have a role with the Ducks. I believe in the Regenda agenda. He's probably going to wind up being either a top line guy or near a top line guy for this Gulls team. I have him as a first liner. I know he was second line over the weekend, but I have him as a potential first liner. And, another solid player. So that's Pavel Regenda. Now let's get to the rest of the forwards. We've got Nikita Nesterenko, who I think also could have gotten a shot with the Ducks. And also, I like him a lot because, that's my birthday buddy, along with Troy Terry. Nikita Nesterenko, also born on September 10th. And there's greatness with guys born on September 10th. Hello, Troy Terry. Nikita Nesterenko, another steady winger. And you know what? I might have to take back what I just said. Maybe Nesterenko on that first line instead of Pavel Regenda. But that's how interchangeable those top two lines are. Then you have Ben King. Ben King, stands by him for the season. A great depth piece for the Gulls. I have him as a bottom 6, but, can net you a few goals. Sasha Pastujov, one of my favorite guys. Sasha he just turned 20 years old. This kid tore up the Ontario League last season. He scored a crap ton of points. I think Pastujov eventually can wind up being a top line guy for the San Diego Gulls. And eventually, I think he could crack the Ducks roster, but he's still young. There's still a lot there. So watch out for Sasha Pastujov. Nathan Gaucher down the middle. Glenn Godden, he's the veteran of the group at 26 years old. Glenn Godden, previously with the Stockton/Calgary franchise. Godden's good. He's a solid player. Like him a lot. He'll be your first, second line center. Then Blake McLaughlin, Jackson Weeb, Andrew Agozzino, the veteran of veterans at 32 years old. Judd Caulfield, another depth piece. And Travis Howe rounds out the list of forwards. And then, of course, you have Chase DeLeo, who is out with injury. And another player that is out for a while that I got to mention. Actually, I'll mention him on the next segment. He's actually a defenseman. But Chase DeLeo being out for a while, that stinks for the San Diego Gulls. Even though he's up with the Ducks right now, I think he'll be done with the Gulls for the majority of the season. So once again, those are your forwards. Nesterenko, Gaucher, McLaughlin, Lapina, Perreault and Tracy, Regenda, Weeb, Caulfield, Pastujov, Agozzino, Glenn Godden. Those are your forwards for the San Diego Gulls. What do you guys think about this roster? All right, we're going to head into the first intermission, and then we'll get into the defensemen and the goaltenders. Stay locked in. And now a word from eBay Motors. Passion, drive, patience. What brings home that winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVC most valuable car and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusion supply, eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. And we're also brought to you by Gametime, the Gametime app, which, by the way, I'm just going to pull up the app right now going off script here because I have used Gametime a plethora of times. I've used it for Ducks tickets. I've used it for Angels tickets. I've even used it for Dodger tickets, which is also fun. If you want to see the Clippers tomorrow, $5 tickets. Oh, $5 to see the Clippers. Not bad. To see the Anaheim Ducks on Thursday, $23. Also not bad. So if you want to check out all the all-in prices and the best price guarantee, Gametime is right there with you. Last minute tickets, flash deals, by the way, and zone deals. By the way, terrace tickets, $23. They even have a handy little map, which I will show right now. They got the Ducks tickets, stars at Ducks, and they got a nice little handy map for you as well. So if you want to get your last minute tickets without all the stress, then go to Gametime. Download the Gametime app, comme ça, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $20 off your first purchase. You can see the Ducks tomorrow night. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, now we've got to talk about the defensemen, and we also got to talk about goaltending. So let's get to that. Defensemen. First, I'm going to start with the player that is out for a while. He's out with injury. The latest report, and you know this one sucks because I like him a lot. Luka Profaka, who's going to be out. He's week to week with an upper body injury. So Luka Profaka is out. A good depth defenseman. Yeah, that one kind of sucks. So here's your defensemen that are playing right now. 7 defensemen. First, Colton White, who has played up with the Ducks before. I would call him the veteran defenseman of the group. Colton, actually, he's not really, but he's one of the vets. Another vet, Robert Haig, who, by the way, scored the game-winning goal at Coachella, at Acrisure Arena, when the Ducks beat up on the Coyotes in preseason. Robert Haig is going to be one of, if not your, one of your middle defensemen. Yeah, he's good. He's fine. I still like Robert Haig. Then Trevor Carrick, who is back with the Gulls. He was with the Gulls a couple seasons ago, left to play in the Eastern Conference, and now he is back with San Diego, reunited with his bro in Southern California. Of course, Sam Carrick up with the Ducks, Trevor Carrick down with the Gulls. So the Maple Bros are back. Sort of. Yeah, love to see it. Now let's get to the young guys. The young defensemen that I'm going to talk a bit about. Let's start with Noah Warren. This one's interesting because Noah Warren, actually he's not on the roster. He's down in juniors now. He was on the roster briefly. And then, no, we're going to take him back down to juniors for another season. But the reason I mentioned Noah Warren is because I have him. Actually, that's why I wrote him down. I should have looked down at my notes, folks. The reason I wrote him down is because he is eligible to be a black ace later on this season. And I know we're always looking for those black aces. Olin Zellweger was one a couple seasons ago when he played one playoff game for the Gulls. And the Gulls, I think, are much, much better this season. I have them as a playoff team, by the way. And I have Noah Warren as a likely black ace later this season. So keep an eye out for him. Nick Wolf, also on the roster, another steady veteran. He'll see some playing time. Now the youngsters, the 3 youngsters that are left that are on San Diego's roster. Drew Hellison. Drew Hellison played a bunch last season. He's got a good shot. And also is very good on the back check. This is one aspect of his game that I liked when I've seen him play. He's very smart defensively. He's very responsible defensively. He has a good active stick. I've always liked his game. Then you have Tyson Hines, who just turned 20 years old, only drafted a couple seasons ago. Tyson Hines, he's fast. He's pretty quick. I like him a lot. Whereas Drew Hellison, a bit of a bigger body. Drew Hellison bulked up, by the way. Love to see it. Tyson Hines, only 20. I'm saving the best for last. Olen Zellweger. Z could have made the Ducks roster, in my opinion. He could have, but I think he wouldn't have seen a whole lot of time. And it's really a testament to how well the Ducks drafted on defense. Minty up with the Ducks, looking pretty good right now so far. Luno looking fine. Lacombe looking pretty darn good. So you've already got a slew of young defensemen. Those older defensemen on the Ducks, they're eventually going to leave or retire. Radko Gudas, he'll be gone in 3 years. Cam Fowler, he'll probably be gone in 3 years. Those other defensemen are only 19, 20. And by the time they get their shot, they'll be 22, 23 years old. They're on track. Zellweger, I think, could be on the faster track, and I would expect him to be an Anaheim Duck maybe this season if injuries happen, but I could see him being a Duck next season as well. He only got 2 games late season with the Gulls last year. He also had that one playoff game a couple years ago. Oh boy. Actually, I take that back. He didn't play with the Gulls last season because, playoffs. Kamloops had a deep run in the playoffs. He was supposed to come, but he got traded. Zells, I think, is your best skating defenseman on the San Diego Gulls by far. His skating glides across. He just glides. How can you not love a kid that just seamlessly glides on the ice with no issues whatsoever? So those are your defensemen right now on the Gulls roster. Colton White, Olen Zellweger, Drew Hellison, Tyson Hines, Nick Wolf, Robert Haig, Luka Profaka, Trevor Carrick. Profaka's hurt. Your 2 goaltenders. Alex Stalock, who lost his spot on the Anaheim Ducks, went down to waivers. He is with the San Diego Gulls. He is 36 years old. This is probably going to be his last ride, but he's just a friendly guy. He's a team player, so I expect Stalock to get a few starts. Callie Klang, the upstart, who's only 20. He just turned 21, by the way. The Woo Klang, as John Broadbent calls him. I like the Woo Klang gang here because he's a very technical goalie, but he is not afraid to make the save outside the crease. He goes outside the crease within reason, and he still relies a little bit on athleticism. Gage Alexander, who is not with the Gulls right now, he is currently down, but he could easily come up. He is waivers exempt rather. So once again, your 2 goalies, Callie Klang, yeah, and Alex Stalock. Alex Stalock, by the way, he's had a decorated NHL career. He's played with the Sharks for a long period of time, played with the Minnesota Wild for about 4 seasons, went back to the Sharks, had a lot of games with the Blackhawks last season, and kind of had sort of a resurgent season with the Blackhawks, and now he finds himself with the San Diego Gulls. All right, we're going to step aside, head into the second intermission, and I will give my thoughts on this roster. Stay locked in. Now a word from Sleeper. Let's say that Troy Terry scores a hat trick. The Ducks somehow make the playoffs this season. If you want to win 100 times your money, play daily fantasy hockey on the Sleeper app. And, what players do we want to see on the app? Who's going to score? Who's going to have the most saves, plus minus? Who's going to net you some good cash and help you win big? With studs like Terry, Z, of course. Zegras is amazing. How about Mason McTavish? How about Vetrano again? All you have to do is pick more or less on stats for those guys. Choose stats like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more. You heard me, Ducks fans. 100 times payouts on Sleeper. So start paying attention and get your picks right now so you can win big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Welcome back to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Once again, you're locked in with Jason JD Hernandez as we are meeting the San Diego Gulls. So let me give my actual thoughts on this roster. It is a strong roster, and I don't just say this lightly. I say this with a lot of conviction because it's about time that some of these guys are finally coming up to the San Diego Gulls roster. And some of these guys we've been waiting for a couple seasons now. We've been waiting for a while. We've been waiting for guys like Nathan Gaucher for a year. As soon as he got drafted, I said, watch out for this kid. He's going to be good. I've been on the Sasha Pastujov bandwagon for a while now, and I believe very highly in Pasta. So I cannot wait to see what he does on the ice this season. I've been high on Noah Warren, Tyson Hines. I've been super, super high on Olen Zellweger. I still cannot fathom, still to this day, how not the last coach, but the previous coach did not let Olen Zellweger play Game 2 of that series against the Ontario Reign. It could have made a big difference. Joel Bouchard got the axe, almost immediately after that game. Ugh. These are all guys that I believe strongly in, and there's a reason that the Ducks have the number 1 rated prospect pool in the National Hockey League, because this group is loaded with speed. It is loaded with hockey IQ. It is loaded with shooting ability, with defensive ability. This might be one of the better teams in the American Hockey League, but I think the main reason why they will not win the Calder Cup is because they don't have the experience. They're all still very raw and very young. And, there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be growing pains, but the ability is there. And I think that's why having a coach like Matt McIlvaine is going to help this Ducks roster down the line. Oh yeah, coaching. We got to talk about coaching just very briefly because, that's all new too. Why not? The coaching staff for the San Diego Gulls this season, because it's an all new staff, mind you. McIlvaine is your new coach. This is fine. This is more than fine. I've been high on him since they made the move. McIlvaine relates to the young guys well. He relates to them kind of learning their way through the league and learning through their mistakes, which I am more than good with. And then you've got Jason Clark and Chris Spar as your assistants, 2 new assistants who, from what I've heard and seen so far, I think highly of. Jeff Glass, the former netminder, is the goaltending coach. Yes, the former Gulls player. This is a solid staff. This is a solid staff that is going to help this team flourish in the long run. That's where I see the Gulls. This season, I could see them making the playoffs. It helps that the expanded playoffs are still around, top 7 teams in the Pacific Division. I do think the Gulls will be one of those 7 teams. Who they play, we don't know yet. I mean, it's only 2 games in. But just looking at this roster, I think Olen Zellweger could wind up being a star of stars on this team. I honestly think that Noah Warren is going to come late in the season and help this team in the playoffs. I'm calling it right now. Drew Hellison, I think, will be good, but I think the star defenseman who is going to see a lot of time and see a lot of points, maybe 40, 50 points if he stays healthy, Olen Zellweger. I could easily see him getting at least 40 points this season. Your top goal scorers, I could see Pastujov netting a lot of goals. I could see Regenda getting a ton of goals this season. Tracy and Perreault. That dynamic duo, I think, could get 20 goals apiece. and be a steady presence in that roster. So overall, the makeup is good. It's going to be really curious to see what lines are played down the line. And this is, by the way, from the first game. The lines were Tracy, Godin, Nesterenko. Good first line. Regenda, Agazino, Perot. Another good second line. Good veteran leadership. Pasterjov, Gaucher, and Caulfield. I didn't mention Caulfield, didn't I? No, he's kind of an extra guy. That Pasterjov Gaucher combo is going to be fun to watch. They're going to be a lot of fun. Then McLaughlin, Lapina, Howe as your fourth line. Those top two lines are just great. There's a lot of firepower there. Pasta and Gaucher, I think they can be as good as with Henrique with the Ducks in a third line. Because you have some good goal scoring, but you have some creativity there. Defense, Carrick and Hellison, old and young, that works. Zellweger and Colton White, young player, older player, like it. Tyson Hines, Robert Haig. You see what the Gulls are doing here, folks? Do you see it? Because I see it. They're doing exactly what the Anaheim Ducks are doing. They're pairing up, for now, a young defenseman with an older defenseman. That way the younger defenseman can learn from the vets. If there's a mistake that the young kids make, the vets will be there to pick them up. And that's what you want. You want those vets to help out the young guys, help mature them, help be a mentor of sorts. And I think that's a great way to do it. So, what the Ducks are doing, what the Gulls are doing, it's very similar. In the long run, I think it'll help everybody involved. So I like what's going on here. I have high hopes for this Gulls team. I don't know if the Ducks are going to make the playoffs, but I do think San Diego will make the playoffs. I will say that once again as my prediction. Gulls making the playoffs. All right, that's going to do it for this podcast. Once again, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for listening. Don't forget this podcast is free and available across all platforms, including Stitcher, Spotify, Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc. You could follow me on Twitter at StimpyJD. The show's Twitter is at LO_Ducks. You could email me at lockedonanaheimducks@gmail.com. Don't forget, ad-free on Amazon. We're also on YouTube, SiriusXM. Check us out there. Once again, thank you all so much for your continued support. It is greatly appreciated. And I'll see you on the ice. For Locked On Anaheim Ducks, I'm Jason JD Hernandez saying have a great rest of the day. Stay tuned for Gulls Thursday. Please remember to be safe out there, be kind to one another, and Ducks and Gulls fly together.